Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. So today I am going to do a first impression slash wear test, demo, all that jazz for the Marc Jacobs Remarkable foundation. This is a pretty new foundation and I was really interested to see what it would be like, so I got a sample of it at Sephora. Remember, if there's a foundation or really any product that you want to try at Sephora, something that you can obviously put in a sample, you can definitely get samples of things. So it's a great way to try products that you're not sure you want to invest in. You can certainly return things there, but it's better to try it before you even shell out the money, because this is $55 for this foundation, so that's pretty pricey. You get 0.75 ounces, which is less than a normal foundation, so that is pretty pricey. The idea of it is that it's a very highly pigmented product, so it comes with a dropper, and so you're supposed to use very, very little amount. Now, I will say the girl at Sephora almost talked me out of getting it because she was telling me basically it was very similar to the Cover FX drops where you're recommended to mix it with something. So, but I thought I would try it anyway because I could mix it with a moisturizer or something like that. But interestingly enough, I went home and I looked at all the description of the product, and girl was trying to play me. I don't really know why, but that's not what it says in the description, so I will read it to you. So first of all, it says it's an ultra lightweight, oil-free foundation concentrate that delivers 24 hours of full coverage wear. So it is supposed to be a very, like I said, a very pigmented concentrate of product. So you're supposed to not have to use too much to get a lot of coverage. So it says that it has twice as much pigment as a normal full coverage product. So that's pretty intense. It says just shake, dot, and blend for perfectly matte coverage. So I like matte coverage because I tend to get a little bit oily. I'm looking at the page that says how to use it. This is all on Sephora's website, by the way. It says, first it tells you to prime. So that's something, of course, it tells you to use their primer. I'm going to use NYX Angel Veil, but I'm only going to use this on one side of my face just so I can see the difference. But to be fair, it does recommend a primer. You use the dot applicator. You place 3 to 4 dots on your face. That's it. And it says for best results, start with less and blend before adding more. So again, it's not telling me to mix it with anything. It's just telling me not to use very much of it. So considering that you don't get a lot for the price, you also don't have to use very much. So it's actually a pretty good value if you like the product and, you know, if it works really well. And it says to blend it by buffing it with a foundation brush, and it obviously, you know, tells you to use a Marc Jacobs one. I'm going to use the IT Cosmetics bronzer brush because it's a pretty big, pretty dense brush, and I figured that would be really good to buff it out since we're putting, you know, only a few different dots throughout the face. So this probably is something that if you don't like something so full coverage or you don't want it to be too heavy, you could mix it in with something else, but you certainly don't have to. Like I said, I'm going to prime half of my face just to see the difference. I mean, like I said, it did recommend a primer, so, you know, if it looks better with the primer, then that's okay. So I'm gonna do it on this side of my face. And again, this is the NYX Angel Veil. This is very similar to the Hourglass Mineral Veil, but much more affordable. Not quite as good, but still pretty good for, definitely for a drugstore product. So here is the product. And by the way, you know, when you get these samples, they give you quite a lot. I mean, you know, it's in this little tub here, and it's a decent amount of product. She made kind of a mess with this, but we'll work with it. Just like it recommended, I'm gonna start with a very little amount, and I'll build if I need to. Okay. And if it were any other foundation, I would use a little bit, I would use more than this to start out with, but I'm going to start with very little. So I'm gonna zoom you in so you can see a little bit better. Wow, definitely blends out very easily. Lots of coverage. Seems to dry somewhat quickly, so you wanna work quickly. You can see that some of this has dried already, but you definitely don't need a lot. They're right about that. So it does have very good coverage for the amount that I put on. I mean, I put a very little bit on, and it blends out really nicely. Doesn't look heavy. You know, I don't know if you would like this if you were a little bit dry, because it is a fair, I mean, it says it's matte and it is pretty matte, I would say. But it looks really natural actually for being so full coverage. I am gonna add just a little bit more because I like a little more coverage, but for that little amount, that was great coverage. So keep that in mind, even though it is pretty pricey. It's $55 for 0.75 of an ounce, which normally for foundations you get about 1 ounce. This will probably go a very long way because you don't have to use very much at all. Certainly less than a normal foundation. So with just a couple tiny little more spots, I got it to where I wanted it to be. And I definitely had some blemishes around my face, and I don't even feel like I need to cover them up now because it covered it really nicely. If I look closely at my face, it looks really, really natural. It feels very soft, like it's already dried. So you definitely have to work kind of quickly, but if you use a big brush like this, a buffing brush, you can work it in so quickly. And I really like the way that it looks. It's matte, but it looks pretty natural. And again, like, I love the way that it feels. It feels really, really nice. It's 10:34, you can see that right now. I am going to powder just a tiny, tiny bit because I always do that. Although I think really you don't need to, but I'm gonna try and just sort of powder the T-zone. Normally I would powder my entire face, but I'm gonna stay away from that because I feel like you don't actually need it with something like this, and I'm gonna see how that works. But I'm not gonna use any powder that has coverage in it. I'm just gonna use a normal setting powder. And I'm gonna do the rest of my face and I will be back with you in a little bit. Okay, I'm back. I have to say, I love how it feels. It really feels like I have nothing on. It feels super lightweight and very comfortable, yet very full coverage, and everything else blended really nicely on top of it. So far I'm really, really happy. So I'm interested to see how it wears throughout the day, and I will check in with you a little bit later and we can see how it's looking. See you then. Okay, just a very quick check-in. It is 3:50, so it has been a very long time since I put it on. I am just out the door to go out for the evening, so I will check back in when I come back later. But I just wanted to show you how it looks so far. Let me zoom you in a little bit so you can see better. It still looks pretty nice, pretty natural. You know, it's worn away just a tiny bit, but nothing too bad. You know, it's built up a little bit here, a little bit of oiliness, but nothing too bad. Still looks pretty natural. I wouldn't feel the need to touch up too much, maybe just a little bit here. But overall, it's looking really, really good. I will say it does promise 24 hours, which of course I'm not gonna wear for 24 hours. I don't think many people will, but it should be holding up a little bit better. It's still holding up pretty well, but it's worn off just a little bit. So if that's something that bothers you, then, you know, I don't know, you may not be a big fan of that, but it doesn't like wear away in a funky way. It still looks pretty natural. You know, when it wears away, it looks just like skin. So nothing too bad. Again, I'm not too oily, which is really nice. I'm sorry, I'm looking in the viewfinder, but I'm not too oily, which is great. That's what it promises as well. So far so good. I am definitely liking it. It's not perfect, but it's definitely a good foundation so far. So I will check in later. I'll see you then. Okay, so it is time for the final check-in. I apologize for the lighting. It is dark out. I just use natural light, so I'm just relying on the lighting in the room. And of course, I'm in my pajamas already. And I'm ready to take off my makeup, so I figured I would check in. I already took off my lipstick, so of course it's worn away around my lips a little bit. It is 9:12, so I've had it on longer than 10 hours. So let's take a look. So honestly, it looks really good. Most of it does look really good. Where I had said that it, you know, wore away a little bit, it still looks that way. But again, I also didn't powder the rest of my face. I only powdered my T-zone. So maybe if I had powdered my whole face, it would have lasted a little bit better. But since I last told you that, it hasn't done that anymore. And again, the way it wears away, it doesn't look unnatural. So that's important to note as well. I'm definitely a tiny bit oily on my nose, but that's normal. That doesn't bother me. I'm not like crazy oily, and I haven't touched up at all. Definitely around my forehead and the middle of my eyebrows, you can see that. I'll zoom in a little bit. You can see it's built up a little bit there. That always happens to me with just my lines, unfortunately. So normally I would, you know, kind of blot that with an oil sheet and touch that up.
So that's not totally out of the ordinary. Most foundations are like that for me. So overall, I think it's great. Do I think that it's worth $55? Maybe. I mean, again, you don't need a lot. Even though you're getting less than a normal foundation, you're gonna get a lot of use out of it because a little bit goes a really, really long way. So I do think it's a great foundation. If you're looking for something new, this did keep me pretty matte and it feels very, very comfortable for such a full coverage. It really feels so comfortable and very lightweight. I don't feel like I was wearing makeup, like a lot of makeup. So I really like that. It was very quick to put on if you have a big buffing brush. You just buff it right in and it's really, really quick. So I did really like it. I would give it a big thumbs up. So if you're looking to try a new foundation and you want something that is matte, but still pretty natural and comfortable, I definitely would recommend this. I hope you enjoyed this video. Definitely let me know in the comment section below if there are any other foundations or products in general that you would love to see me review, give a first impression, demo, that kind of thing. I would love to hear your suggestions. If you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. That really helps out my channel, and subscribe if you are not already. And hope to see you next time. Bye.